Empower Black men to live extraordinary lives. Shatter the stereotypes. Power Black men. Power Black men. Shatter the stereotypes. Power Black men to live extraordinary lives. Shatter the stereotypes. Shatter the stereotypes. Power Black men to live extraordinary lives.
Welcome to Shatter the Stereotypes, where the intention is to empower Black men to live extraordinary lives. This show is based on the simple idea that every Black man is capable of creating inner peace, dynamic health, great relationships, and financial abundance. Therefore, we provide insights and strategies to educate, motivate, and inspire Black men to reach their full potential and create the life of their dreams. So if you're ready for some high-octane motivation and inspiration that supports and empowers you to live the life you were born to live, get ready to shatter the stereotypes so you can build a life that lights you up and positively impacts the world. So now, let's shatter the stereotypes with your host, Coach Michael Taylor.
Hello and welcome to Shatter the Stereotypes, where my intention is to empower Black men to live extraordinary lives. You see, there's never been a shortage of Black male role models. There's only been a lack of exposure of those role models in mainstream media. So my intention is to showcase and highlight Black men who are doing remarkable things in the world. And my guest tonight is doing just that. His name is Dr. Corey Holmes. And I want to begin by reading his bio, because one of the things I love about doing this podcast is I get to meet some really cool brothers that you probably may not see in mainstream media. And obviously all the stories, or the majority of the stories you see about Black men in the media, are pretty negative. So I get inspired when I meet brothers like this. So I want to read his bio, and it says, Dr. Corey W. Holmes is a foreign affairs expert, educator, and cultural commentator who brings scholarly rigor and global perspective to his analysis of contemporary media and social issues. He recently published Golf, Cigars, and Scotch, Balancing Fatherhood, Friendship, and Fine Living, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. He holds a PhD in African Studies and Research from Howard University and has served as adjunct professor at both Howard University and New York University. He has contributed to numerous publications, including African Leadership Magazine and the London School of Economics blog. Originally from Detroit, he currently resides in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic with his family. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Holmes to the podcast. Welcome to the Shatter the Stereotypes podcast, Corey. How are you doing today?
I am absolutely fantastic, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Oh man, I'm glad to have you here because again, you're definitely shattering stereotypes and we're going to dive into your book. But before we do, let's start off with a few icebreakers. So first of all, name a woman who's inspired you to be who you are.
Oh, that's easy. My grandmother, Eva Curry. Without her, I wouldn't be a world traveler. Without her, I wouldn't have perseverance and fight, spunk. In fact, she's turning 99 this year.
Wow.
I had a chance to visit with her about a week ago. Took her to church, and she's still alive and kicking, man. I mean, when she was 81, she came to visit me in Johannesburg, South Africa, by herself.
Wow. Nice.
Spent 3 weeks with me. So yes, it's definitely my grandmother, Eva Curry, who I happen to name my son after. So
There you go. So name a man that you look up to and admire.
wow, so many. Obviously my father, but I want to give flowers to his name is Dr. Glenn McIntosh. He's the vice president of Oakland University. Um, he actually wrote a book 10 years ago about getting on your A game, and really was very instrumental in me writing my book because you know how folks always say, if you see it, you can achieve it. And so he was that for me. But he also held me accountable, whether it was biweekly or monthly check-ins. Say, hey, where are you? Have you written a page? Have you written a chapter? Keep going. And so I would definitely have to say him. He was very instrumental.
Nice. Now, I want you to imagine that you were going to be trapped on an island for 30 days. And so you're trapped on this island and you can only take one book with you.
Ah, wow. Only one?
Only one. What book would you take while you're stuck on this island?
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. As you can see, this is just like only like 10% of my book collection. Let's go with The Dream Deferred. Tabo and Becky by Mark Vessler. I'm a Tabo and Becky Leadership Institute fellow. Um, Had a chance to meet former President and Becky about 6 or 7 years ago, where he told me, "Hey, you're a change agent," and so I took that to heart. And as I move forward in life, I always have that at the forefront. Like, okay, make a change in somebody's life on a daily basis. So definitely that book. Very strategic, but more humble than most folks would know, right? He's enclosed, but if you get to know him, highly intelligent man, but very kind as well. So that book,
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, you like movies? Are you a movie buff?
older ones,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
name
yeah.
name
I am.
name one of your favorite movies.
Trading Places.
Classic. 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 I'm a big
Yes.
movie buff. I
Okay.
absolutely love movies and all
Okay.
genres. Absolutely all genres.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
interestingly enough, I never dreamed of being a filmmaker, but I was inspired by Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry said, "Stop fighting for room at the table, build your own table." And when I heard that quote, something in me clicked. And
Right.
I said, well, if Tyler Perry can do all these movies and all the amazing things that he's done, I said, you know what? I think I can do something too. So I set an intention. I said, I'm going to do a documentary, which I recently just completed. And thank you for reviewing it. But it really speaks
Absolutely.
to how we can be inspired, right? By not only celebrities, but people who are making a positive difference in the world. And so I'm actually writing a screenplay based on my life, and I
Hmm.
wrote a book called Adversity is Your Greatest Ally. And that's actually going to be the name of my movie because it kind of showcases my journey from, you know, high school dropout, homelessness, divorce, all the negative adversities that we sometimes go through. And it's going to be a really
Right.
powerful, positive story. So I'm really looking forward to that. But as you mentioned, Trading Places, I'll never forget the first time I saw that movie. I couldn't stop laughing. Eddie Murphy was just that guy. That movie was him. He just made that whole film. That was great. Now,
Absolutely.
I wrote a book titled The Cure for Onlyness, a Black Man's Guide to Joy, Passion, and Purpose. And in the book, I talked about the unique challenges we as Black men face when we are
Hmm.
in environments as the only person of color.
Hmm.
I'm sure you've had that experience. So how do you navigate those types of situations?
Wow. So I'm gonna be very transparent. There have definitely been times where I had the imposter syndrome. But I think as you obtain more and you gain more experience, and you find more people that are in your corner in these spaces, um, you tend to kind of relax in the environment. And you have to remember, I'll never forget, his name was Ambassador Tuli Mushingi. And he always said, look, at the end of the day, you're probably going to have to be better than most. Keep it about the work, right?
Mm,
If you keep it about the work, you will be just fine. And so I basically told my students that as well. From my South African mentees to my former students at Howard and NYU. Look, it's unfair, but life isn't fair. Always strive for greatness. And if you land on very good, that's not that bad either, right? But always strive for greatness. And so as I navigate these spaces, I just remember who I am, right? I remember I told you my grandmother Eva. I remember what she instilled in me. There will never be another harsh critic like my grandma, right? And so I actually got up in front of the church last week, in front of my former church, St. Philip's Lutheran Church in Detroit, where they wanted me to give a few words because it was Grandparents' Day. And I cried like a baby because I looked into the audience and saw that one person who sacrificed
Wow.
everything for me, right? You're talking about a guy, a child in 1988 who went to West Germany. Notice I didn't say Germany because the Berlin Wall was still there. It didn't fall to 89, right? So, and that was due to my grandmother. Went to concerts in Vienna, Austria, Salzburg. Like, so it was due to her that really helped me become the person I am today. And so,
Mm. Now, the reason I came up with the title for that book, you and I are both members of Black Executive Men
yeah,
with Jewel Love.
yeah.
Jewel Love put a post on LinkedIn and it said the number one mental health challenge for Black men is loneliness. Now, I'd never heard the word before,
Mm,
but when I read
yeah,
it, I
yeah,
immediately resonated
yeah,
with it
absolutely. Yeah,
because I felt that loneliness all of
yeah,
my life. But
yeah.
when I read it, I said, you know what? There's actually a cure for loneliness. And so for me, the cure for loneliness is self actualization. When we find
Mm,
out and discover who we really are
yeah,
and do that inner work to know who we are and we
yeah,
have the confidence in ourselves,
yeah,
that's how we cure that.
yeah,
Because it's going to happen. We're going to be in environments where so
absolutely.
when we step in, and I can't remember who said this. I think it was my grandfather, maybe my mom. It was probably my mom. And she says, Michael, here's the thing. Whenever you step in the room, just own it. Just own it.
My former boss used to say that. I used to be
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's easy for you to say.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But my mom told me, she says,
yeah,
just own it. She says,
yeah,
because when you bring your whole self to it, you are not only intelligent, but you carry an energy that people
yeah,
gravitate towards.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you just carry that and just own that room and just step in it and go.
yeah.
And that's been one of my greatest life lessons is to self-actualize, to go through this process called personal growth and development to discover who I really am. And that's how and why I became an author and speaker and all of that, because that process of self-actualization actualization helped me find my purpose. And it was in finding my purpose that I'm able to support and empower others to do the same. So, with that being said, we're going to talk about golf, cigars, and scotch. And
Right.
your memoir reflects a rich tapestry from diplomatic service to education and fatherhood. So, what pivotal moment inspired you to write Golf, Cigars, and Scotch?
Man, I get asked this question so often. Necessity.
Okay.
The book had been in my mind probably the last 3 years, so I had a skeleton of it. And you know, when you're working this, I call it like when you're in the rat race, right? You just never have time to do the things that you want to do, right? And most of my day jobs, I was writing anyway, right? I was other people's voices, you know, whether speeches, bullet points, press releases, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the writing piece, and you know, and plus I wrote a dissertation. So the writing piece was always there, but I wanted to leave my son something in
Mm,
writing, right? Right. So from here until the end of time, right? As long as each generation passes it down, Grandpa Corey, this is his work, right? This won't be my last work, but this was truly my first work, right? And this actually wasn't my first book, it was my first solo book. But legacy, man, and I know it's the hot topic and the hot word in 2025, legacy. But yes, I wanted to leave my son some text, and I wanted to read it to him, and I wanted him to see it, and I wanted him to be a part of it. And so he was definitely my motivation.
Nice. Now, how has your identity as Dr. Corey Holmes, a diplomat, educator, and father, influenced the book's themes of blending personal passion with parental purpose?
So I take the doctor out of it. So it took me a long time to actually uh, say, hey, because I used to just say, hey, just call me Corey, just call me Corey. And it would be bosses and other colleagues that say, no, you earned it. This is Dr. Holmes. They would introduce me, Dr. Holmes, Dr. Holmes, Dr. Holmes. But that's not how I grew up. I grew up in Detroit, right? And so where I'm from, they keep you humble, to say the least. But interweaving golf, cigars, and scotch. So, the age-old adage of being a diplomat, right? You're sophisticated but I was all these things before I was a diplomat, right? So everything in the book is kind of what I do on a daily basis. I love cigars, probably more than my wife would like. I love a good scotch. I actually just went to Scotland for my 47th birthday, and went to the Speyside to visit the Macallans and the Balvinis and the Glenfiddichs and the Ablamores. I tried to take the lessons of what you need in golf. You need perseverance, you need patience, you need strategy. You also need that in being a good parent, right? But also, I wanted to show how fellowship and friendship can strengthen you as a father, right? Because we we need that community, right? And usually, I'm gonna say all men, because I have guys here that are not African American, that are not black. We connect over cigars and scotch, and we talk about our families and we talk about life. And you find specifically, I found with black men, because we're not the most vulnerable, right? Because so we have so much trauma, right? So it's hard for us to be vulnerable, not only with each other, but with the world. But over a good glass of scotch and a cigar where you can relax and you're usually in a relaxed environment, you start to share your feelings. And then you find out that, hey, Michael's going through the same thing Corey's going through, right? And so, okay, Michael, how did you get through your son or your daughter's issue at 5? Right? Because I'm a young father. So I'm an old father, but I'm a young father. My son's only 5 and I'm almost 50, right? And so I lean on my friends. I lean on older fathers. I lean on my community to help me be the best father that I can be.
Mm. Now, you mentioned on, I think I read it on a Goodreads blog or something, that fatherhood was your most enduring and at times most challenging hat. So wearing that
Far. Oh, by
fatherhood
far.
hat.
By
So
far.
first of all, you only have one kid?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. One son.
one son.
Yep. One son. Yes.
So let's break that down a little bit, because you
Okay.
know you know the stereotype, right, about black men and deadbeat dads and all of that. But
Yep. Yep.
most of us are still good fathers, right? But
Absolutely right.
I just want to kind of break that down, because again, you've got all these great titles, you've accomplished a lot of things, but fatherhood is that true measuring stick, I believe, of how we're doing as men. when we can master fatherhood and we can create the connection with our youth, that's how we transform our community. So just let's just talk a little bit about challenges, right? So
Yes.
when your son, what's your son's name?
Evan.
Evan. Okay.
Yes.
So I want you to think about Evan
Mhm.
when you first brought him home. Okay.
All
So
right.
I remember when my first son, Mike Jr., when he came home, I was the opposite. I was the one that would get up every time I'd hear something. I'd run in the room to make sure he was okay. My former wife would be asleep, but I was the one running. I was the one that wasn't afraid of changing them dirty diapers, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
my son meant so much to me. I can't even put it into words. When I held him for the first time, it was like looking at myself, right?
That's right.
It
Yep.
was
That's
just
right.
such a powerful experience. So let's just talk a little bit about for you what that was
Mhm.
like becoming a father.
Man, it was, I truly found purpose, right? Like all the accolades and whatever else I did in life before that didn't matter. Um, as you said, until you're a father, you can't explain what we know to be true, which is nothing comes before your child once your child is born. He or she is it, right? And there is nothing you won't do. I can't, I wouldn't have fathomed the things that I've done since my son has been born, right? Prior to him being born. Like I wouldn't even thought of doing some things that I've done. Like you said, I've changed all the diapers. Um, I took him, I still take him to school. In DC, we used to ride the train. He knows daddy usually picks me up. Daddy usually takes me out for ice cream. Daddy usually he's teaching me golf. He taught me how to play basketball. Um, he gets on me about my studies, right? I see daddy working at the table, so I had to buy him a little Spider-Man laptop. So he sees me now, he's at the table. Daddy, I'm gonna come work with you. We can work together, right? So that's my job, man. You know how some people are enthralled in their job. Yes, I'm enthralled in mine, being my son's father, being Evan's father. Um, there's no greater joy, man. At the same time, some of the frustrations, as you know, I've never. We had a saying, "I will never rebuke you because I love you too much," but there are times. Right. It's a crazy. It's like the yin and yang at the same time. Like and then I want to kiss you, like just like that. Right. Only a father and a child, man. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Now, any plans for additional kids?
No,
Just
no,
one
too
one
old.
plenty, one
No, that's
plenty.
it. We move around, man. We move around too much.
Yeah,
The wife is soaring. Now we now he's enough.
gotcha.
He's
Now,
enough.
a lot of fathers, and again, Shatter the Stereotypes is about black men, but this is really for
Right,
fathers
right,
in general.
right,
But
right.
a lot of fathers battle with isolation. Um, when they have a kid, like I remember when I had my first kid, most of my close friends weren't married, right? And so here
Okay.
I'm the married one, I got the kid, and so there was this my friends, I don't want to say they didn't reject me, but it just like they didn't fit because I wasn't going to be running the street, hanging out at clubs with them. I love them, but hey, I was committed to my family, right?
Right,
But there were times when I felt a little isolated because I didn't have my friends around and they didn't have kids.
right.
So did you have to deal with any of that type of isolation yourself or no?
No, because I was the inverse. I was the last one of my friends to have kids.
Ah,
So remember, I had my kid, I was 42.
okay.
So some of my friends went through those same situations that you mentioned, but no, they were the OGs, if you will, for me, right? They were my community. They were my consiglieres, right? Like, no, you need to do this, 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 this. This is gonna happen at 5. Okay. I know you're going through the potty training right now. Oh, I'm so glad I'm done with that. That was a beast. Or not wanting to sleep in his own bed throughout the night, right? So, yes, I had my community, my boys,
Nice.
to kind of lean on, which I talk about a lot in the book.
Got you. So,
Yep.
so how do you reconcile maintaining your identity and self-fulfillment while
Mhm.
being present as a parent?
Easily, man. So I'm all about self-care. I tell my wife, and she's learning it more now. We can't be the best for Evan if we aren't the best for ourselves,
Oh, I love that.
right? So
Love that.
at some point, you have to take some time for yourself. So for me, I love taking baths. I love getting massages. Golf is therapeutic, right? I don't necessarily have to have a foursome. I can go out there by myself for a quick nine, right? I can sit in the cigar lounge in the corner. Now I can be the topic of conversation, or I can sit in the corner by myself and be inconspicuous for 2 hours, right? And just collect my thoughts and reflect. So yes, self-care is how I am the best father and I'm present for my son because that rejuvenates me so we can go swimming every Monday, so we can practice our golfing on Tuesdays, right? So we can do all the rest of these activities throughout the week after his school, right? Because he's a 5-year old and he's on the go. He doesn't stop till he passes out.
Now, when we think about the term fine living, it
Mm.
kind of evokes luxury.
Hmm.
Your approach reframes it in relational and intentional terms. So, how did you come to redefine fine living in that context?
Yeah, so first I came up with the word fine living because I knew it was catchy, right? I'm a wordplay guy, right? So I'm a wordsmith. So I knew that would be catchy for certain demographics. Um, but it's really whatever you want to make it, right? Like uh fine living could be, hey, I love to stay in the house because I've built this cocoon around me and my family, and this is what we love to do. We love to watch Netflix every Friday and Saturday. Other families might like to go on vacations or go to the beach. It's whatever you have worked for and you're able to enjoy, right? That's all fine living is. It has no monetary value whatsoever. It's about you enjoying your life to the best of your ability, right?
Yeah, and I love that reframing. Because when you
Yeah.
think of fine living, like I said,
Right.
I'm thinking, luxury,
Right.
hotels, and cars or whatever, external things. But in the context, you're saying it's about who we are and what we're experiencing internally, right? Versus what we're doing externally.
Absolutely. And you realize, I think too, because we live overseas, you realize a lot of that stuff doesn't matter anyway.
Yep,
Right?
absolutely.
If the power goes out, it doesn't matter if you have 2 million in the bank or $20 in the bank. The power went out for the whole city. And you might have access to go get it, but they might not have the product that you need, right? And so it's just navigating these sometimes difficult waters, and here in Santo Domingo, and a lot of folks take their everyday luxuries for granted, i.e., the water isn't palatable here, right? So at this point, I would consider fine living when I went back home. Oh, I can drink the water out of the faucet. That's fine living. See?
So I'm curious, why did you decide to live there?
Work. It was work. Assignment. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Now,
Yeah.
did you face any stereotypes that your book intentionally seeks to challenge or shatter?
Yes. So I'll take them one by one. The golf piece, right? So Yes, we had the Tiger Woods era. And yes, there are a lot of African American golfers. I'm loving what Eastside Golf is doing. I'm loving what a lot of the HBCU organizations are doing. I was just a part of an event, Kings and Queens of Golf. There was an event at Lake Presidential in Upper Marlboro where they have these golf tournaments to help their communities, fundraise for their communities. So the game is becoming bigger. What I would like to see is more access for minorities and African Americans to some of these clubs, right? Some of these private clubs. Public golf courses are great. Love Langston, right? Very historic course. But there's a different type of setting when you go to some of these private clubs that we need more access to on a regular basis. The cigar and scotch thing I've been doing so long, man, that I mean, unless you're a manufacturer or distributor, you really can't talk that to me because I've studied it. Like I studied at Howard, right? So I have books on scotch, I have books on cigars. I've been to plethora of not only distilleries but tobacco manufacturers, whether it was in Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, Cameroon, Connecticut. So those stereotypes are, I'm glad that we're starting to see African American manufacturers, but we still got to build that pipeline, right? So look, again, it's a process. But 10 years ago, we were just being consumers. And so now you're seeing African Americans getting to the cigar space. And I try to support as many of those brands as I can.
Yeah. It's interesting because I knew absolutely nothing about golf, say 15 years or so ago. And I remember when Tiger Woods won that first Masters,
Yep,
his very first
97.
Masters.
Yep, 97.
And so I needed to at least understand the game so I could kind of figure out what made him so good, right?
Yeah.
So I personally don't golf, okay?
Okay.
But after seeing him win the Masters, I said, well, let me just learn a little bit about it. And then once I understood it, it really just, number one, it heightened my inspiration about him as a golfer, for him to be that good.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
just gave me a whole different respect for the game
Yeah.
and how challenging and difficult it really is. And so once I understood it, it wasn't just this boring thing. I mean, I can sit down and watch a full round of golf, no matter who's playing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I just kind of have a sense of how it works. It's a
Yeah.
game. So um, if you had an opportunity to play with one person a round of golf, who would that be?
Are you speaking of a golfer or just anyone?
Anyone.
My father. But my father couldn't golf. Right. So, but it definitely would be my pops. Because like you said, so I knew the game before I knew how to play the game. So Payne Stewart was my favorite golfer
Okay.
because he used to wear the Kangos, right? So this was in the 80s. I
Ah,
was watching the 80s. Like my godfather used to golf and my godmother used to try to get me out there. I'm like, I was a baseball guy. And so um I said, but yeah, it definitely would be my father because one, he's not here, but two, I mean, just the stories that we can share. And it would be something that I can teach him, right?
mm,
Because he taught me how to play baseball and dribble a basketball. And and bowl. I used to bowl a lot. And, I would just love to teach him. And he was a photographer. So I know he would love to take pictures of the beautiful courses we would go to. And. So
yeah.
that would be kind of awesome.
Nice. Nice. So let's talk about writing just a little bit. Writing,
Okay.
because that's my passion. I love, love, love writing books. That's just my thing. So can you walk us through your writing process? Look, like How did you blend your memoir, reflection, and practical framework into this book?
Wow. So I had the skeleton of the book. I think I mentioned it earlier about 3 years ago. So initially, it was about my mother, my father, and my grandmother. I call them the, I don't know if you're a church person, but Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
my Trinity, mother, father, son. Um, and then obviously when my son came into the picture, so it was the thing was always family for me. Um, and then truthfully, I didn't want to write about policy. I didn't want to write about anything about my dissertation. So I wanted to write something fun. Um, and so, and what I knew, again, I know cigars and scotch more than I knew golf, but I was playing a lot of golf during COVID. And so, my writing process was, I kind of broke it down like a dissertation, right? So in golf, you have 18 holes. Well, you will see I have 19 because the 19th hole is where you go sit down with your boys or by yourself and mope or pout how bad you played or, how you were the man that day. And then, of course, I had an epilogue kind of summarizing the book. But so I started with that. So the chapters were there, kind of wrote some themes out, kind of on a whiteboard. You would throw some stuff would stick, some stuff wouldn't. I can't remember. So this wasn't my initial title. The publisher wanted the title to be shorter, but I'm like, no, I need something catchy, and so that's where golf, cigars, and scotch came. But I also wanted folks to know it has some substance behind it. It's about really fatherhood. I'm just using these tools to kind of draw people in and show them how I navigate fatherhood, using golf's life's lessons, and sometimes, fellowshipping with my friends, with cigars and scotch. And so I really kind of wrote the book in 3 months and persistence, man, right? Just, okay, I'm not gonna chapter out a week. Like, that's just it. And you'll have some days, I was telling someone, you'll have some days where, you barely can write a page. That happens. You let that go. And you get up from the table and you say, I'll get them tomorrow. But tomorrow needs to be a good day.
Yeah.
You can't have 2 bad days in a row because that becomes a bad week.
Yeah.
So yeah, but again, I think for me, what helped was I had wrote my dissertation was like 279 pages.
Wow.
So,
What'd you write about? What'd you write about?
youth unemployment, the effects of youth unemployment in Gauteng province.
Ah,
So Gauteng is the biggest province. Well, it's the business province out of the 9 in South Africa, where
gotcha.
Johannesburg is, Pretoria, the capital, is there. Yeah. So, I went throughout the Soweto is there, Alexandria. So I went to the townships, went to the big city, and did a mixed methodology. And so, yeah, I mean, that's always been my writing process. You ever heard of Jay-Z when he says he just goes into the booth, or Nas when they just go into the booth and zone out? That's kind of how
Yeah.
when it's time, I zone out and just write. A
Mhm.
lot of it doesn't make sense. I have a little pocket me too where I just get it all out of my brain.
Yeah.
And then I go back and edit. My wife will look at it, right?
Yeah.
But the content is always there, right? I'm
Mhm.
not trying to be grammatically correct on the draft,
Right.
right? I
Yeah.
need all of the thoughts out.
Yep.
I need the thoughts to be I need the thoughts to be coherent, but if I'm skipping words, that's fine. We'll
Yeah.
go back to that. We'll go back and clean that up. So,
Here's an interesting story when I first started writing. You remember a show used to come on called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous?
Absolutely, with Robin Leach, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
So it's probably 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm watching that show. He used to come on real late at night, and I'm watching that show, and he was interviewing this romance writer. Don't remember who she was, but he was
Mm,
and he was asking her about her writing process, and she said every day she wrote 10 pages. She says, I write 10 pages a day. She says, sometimes it takes me an hour, sometimes it takes me 10 hours. But
mm,
every day I write 10 pages. And so I'm sitting there thinking, because I had already made up my mind I want to write this book. And I said, well, shit, I definitely not going to try 10 pages. I said, maybe, I said, what if I just commit to five?
mm.
I said,
Okay.
if I commit to 5 pages a day, because I had a 90-day window that I was waiting for this grant to come through, and I basically had 90 days to do whatever, right?
Okay.
So I kind of figured if I wrote 5 pages a day, 90, I could get a pretty good book done. So, and I had just learned how to use a computer. This was in 94. So I sat down, I said, today I'm going to write 5 pages. It took me almost 9 hours
Mm.
to write my 5 pages. I wrote my 5 pages. Once again, I was just learning how to use a computer. And somehow I deleted all 5 pages.
Wow. Wow.
I lost I was like, oh
Wow.
my gosh.
Right.
So the next day, well, actually, what I what I ended up doing was calling a friend to come over to show me how to make sure I didn't do that again.
Right.
But the next day, I sat there. I said, today I'm going to write 5 pages. Now, I remembered a lot that I had wrote the first day. So the second day was easy. And I wrote my 5 pages in about 4 hours.
Okay.
But then I knew that I could do it.
Right.
And so I committed to 5 pages a day. And I did 5 pages a day for about 60, I think it was 63 days, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And I actually finished my first book in 63 days. Now,
Now, are you a morning person or a night person? See, I can't write at night.
I'm a morning person.
Okay, yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm a morning person. Now, I'll tell you that's not a secret, but it's my gift. I believe writing is a gift. I personally believe that writing as a writer doesn't come from your brain. I believe writing comes from your heart.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I think when we connect to our hearts and listen to our intuition, I believe that's the source of creativity.
Yes.
Now, I choose to call it divine intelligence. You can call it God, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but I call it divine intelligence. I believe we're connected to this divine intelligence. And when we tap into it, it's amazing where the creativity comes from. So for me, like I said, I've written 17 books.
Wow.
And
Wow.
what's really amazing is I've gotten to a point, I'm also a firm believer in meditation. So when we learn to quiet our minds,
I'm learning, Michael. I'm learning.
yeah, we get past all the thinking, chatter, intellect. And when we
Mm,
just learn to listen,
mm.
I believe God literally pours into us. And that's where the creativity comes from. And so now, on average, for example, I've written one book per year for the last 12 years.
Wow.
Okay. I have this connection with source, divine intelligence, I like to call it, where I got a little process. In January, I'll come up with a title.
Okay.
Once I have a title, then I get my graphics person to create me a cover.
Mm.
Once I have a cover, then what I'll start doing is I'll start listening to my intuition. And then I'll see an article or something like this, and then, oh, okay, so here's my chapters. I'll
Okay.
come, I generally write 10 chapters.
Okay.
I'll come up with 10 chapters. Now I've got the skeleton, as you called it. And then I start meditating and start listening. And all of a sudden, this idea start to flow. And I take out my phone a lot of times because I'll be in the grocery store and something. I go, oh, That's a great, and I'll make a little note in my phone. And what I do is from January to September, I'm collecting articles, I'm collecting insights that I've written on my phone, and then every September, I write a book.
Wow.
And so it's amazing how between January and September, if I listen, I'll create a little folder on my computer, and I just start dropping stuff in that folder.
Hmm.
And by the time September comes around, I'm ready to start writing. Now, right now, when I start writing a book, I can literally write a 150-page book because that's kind of my goal. 150 pages, around 50,000 words.
Hmm.
I can do that in 14 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So, what I know is I'm not just this really smart guy. What I know is I've learned how to trust and listen to that divine intelligence that I'm talking about.
Mm.
It because I'm sure you've had the experience where you start writing and it just flows.
Yes.
Boom, boom, it just flows. And
Yes.
sometimes I'll just stop and go, "Ooh, where did that come from?"
Yes.
So in terms of writing, it's really a process of relaxing the mind, getting that intellect out of the way, and trusting our hearts, because I believe that's where the creativity comes from.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the juxtaposition of that of what I used to do was there was no creativity. It
Yes,
was force-fed bullet points,
yeah.
right? Regurgitated texts, right? And so that was a lot for me to snap out of that and say, hey, no, this is you. Create, 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 create. Um, and once I kind of got out of that mental block, it kind of flowed a little bit. But yes, I am definitely into meditation now. So I'm
Yeah,
definitely going to use that
yeah,
for my next
and one of the things
project.
I've done a couple of workshops, about writing, and one thing I always teach is there's no such thing as writer's block. And people go, "What? What do you mean there's no such thing?" I said, "Here's the thing. Writer's block is once you say you have writer's block, your mind is going to do everything
Mhm.
it can to block what you're trying to do. So, whenever you get to that point where things aren't flowing, don't start telling yourself, I have writer's block. No, you don't want to do that. What you want to do is walk away from it.
Right,
Just stop it. Don't
right,
kind of force it. And again,
right,
this is why I teach meditation, is because when you learn to quiet the mind, okay, and get past the intellect, then, like I said, that's the source of creativity. So if I can get people to, when they get to that point where it's just not flowing,
mm,
that's all you got to say. Well, right now it's not flowing. Let me step away from it. Relax the mind, come back to it. If you do that on a regular basis, you begin training your mind to be more creative. But you got to learn to quiet it, because the mind will go all sorts of this. Oh man, I got writer's block, and I hear people saying that. Man, well, the more you tell your mind that, guess what? The more you're going to block the flow of creativity. So
right.
yes, it's important that you
Wow.
learn to quiet that mind, to listen to that deeper part of ourselves. So let's jump a little bit now. One of the things I loved about your book is you focus on friendship, because that's even in your title.
Yes,
And so
yes,
I think that's an important part, because you're talking about fatherhood, but also friendship. And one of the things I think we as Black men crave, but maybe don't know how to ask, is to have connections with other men, friendships, right? Where,
absolutely.
where we can
Yep,
have
yep,
conversations.
yep.
Now, you talk about cigars and scotch. That's a great way to have that connection. But let's talk a little bit about the importance of friendship in your context of your book.
Absolutely. So a big piece of the book was giving my five friends their flowers, so to speak. So during my book tour, my first stop was in Detroit, my hometown. One of my friends who is in the book, he basically set up my first event at a cigar bar.
Oh, nice.
And Right, right. Like set it up, man. I was floored. So many people hadn't seen each other in so long that we weren't even in the building. We were congregating outside until I finally had to say, "Hey, let's go inside right quick," you know. So anyway, these five friends of mine that are heavily documented in the book, they just started talking about me. So much so, I had to say, "Hey, I'm still here, guys. Like you're making me feel a little uncomfortable here. I'm still among the living. Hold on." I mean, guys were shedding tears, but this is what I was talking about real friendship and being able to be vulnerable. We don't have to speak every day. I've been in most of their weddings. I've been knowing some of them 45 years.
Wow.
But when we're together, it's like we've never left each other. Um, it's holding each other accountable, right? Because I'm the taskmaster, right? Like, I'm the guy that's, hey, why haven't you gotten that master's degree yet? You were the first one to get a bachelor's, right? And they can do the same to me. Okay, Corey, this isn't right. You're no, you're acting. Nope, nope. Get it together. So we're able to hold each other accountable. We're able to tell each other, man, I love you. We're able to have each other's backs, have each other's families' backs. And it's great for other people to see. So everybody else that was at my event really got to see our bond and was like, wow, which I mean, most of them do, if you know me. But I could see some folks were like, wow, that the bond these five guys have is crazy. And so, yeah, and I wanted to document some of that stuff in the book. And from what they've told me, I did a fairly decent job.
Mm. Friendship, man. I tell you, that's such an integral part to
You
have.
you have it's essential, man. It's
Yeah.
essential. I mean, without those guys, um, I mean, look, all of those guys were there when my mother passed. I was
Mm.
in South Africa when my father passed. All of those guys, they were my crutches. So,
Nice.
and I've had to be crutches for them as well, in other times. So, yeah, man, it's friendship, but it's more like a brotherhood.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah. And
that
it,
I wish all black men could have it, but I know they don't because I see it too much,
right.
right? And it's like, so I tell, we're on a group text and we're texting back and forth every day, and I told him today, man, I said, you know how lucky we are, fellas. Like, I love y'all, right? It's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So important. So what advice would you give to fathers
Yeah,
who are striving to keep their passions alive
yeah,
without compromising their parental roles?
yeah. Um, Again, if you can incorporate your kids into your passions. I mean, obviously I can't incorporate my son into Scotch and cigars, but I can I can incorporate the golf piece, which I have, right? Um, and to give yourself grace, man. Hey, look, I know I'm a great father. We can't be with our kids 24/7. It's okay. There will be times we have to miss certain things. It's okay. But we have to be consistent. Consistency, being authentic, and showing your kids that you love them, right? Like tangibly showing them. My sometimes, my wife looks at my son like, how many times is that boy gonna kiss you? That's my baby boy. I mean, because at a certain point it might stop, right? But for now, it's not.
There you go.
And so, yes, it's okay to love on your kids as fathers, right? Boys included, right? Because I mean, you know how we are with the girls, but I'm specifically talking about the boys because I have a boy,
Yeah.
right? It's okay to love on your son.
Now, I want you to share because I know you've had this experience. When you come home from work or whatever, and your kid comes running across the room,
Yeah.
Daddy's home.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What's that like for you?
Man. So I just got back. So I'm gonna use that example. So I just got back from the States on the book tour. It's the best feeling in the world, man. Genuine face cheese from ear to ear. You know, that little voice, you almost had his voice down pat. Um, it made it all worthwhile because I was exhausted. I'm like, how do these entertainers and rock stars do these events back to back to back in different cities? Jesus, I'm tired. But when I looked at them, I'm like, okay, no, let's go get it again next month. This is why we do it, right? So it rejuvenates me, if nothing else. But I can't wait to take them with me on some of this stuff,
Yeah.
right? You know, and so when I get back, yeah, it's like, yep, you with pops. You taking me to school? Yep. Picking me up? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, we going swimming. I'm exhausted. I haven't slept, but we're going swimming as soon as you get out of school. Yep, me and you. So,
So for the viewers, I just want to say, being a father is definitely one of my greatest. Oh, let me rephrase that. Being a great father
absolutely.
is one of my greatest accomplishments. Um, my daughter's 39. My son just turned 42, and
Oh, wow.
I have a son that's 44. So I've been around the
Wow.
block. I've been around the block a minute.
The fountain of youth for Michael.
But I got to tell you, and again, I never had a good relationship with my dad. But
Mm,
I remember
mm,
as a kid making a commitment that when I had kids, I was going to be a great father.
mm.
And I'm happy to say that I kept that commitment. And my kids, I absolutely love them. And I'm just blessed.
Yeah,
All three of my kids, just
yeah,
amazing human
yeah,
beings.
yeah.
But for the viewers, I just want to say, in terms of black men, there's this whole idea about us not taking care of our kids and so forth. But what we have to recognize is being a great father isn't genetic, it's learned behavior.
Mm,
Any man can learn to become a great father. I don't care what kind of relationship you may have had with your dad, you can become a great father. But it's all about commitment.
yep.
It's all about making your kids high priority in your life. So whatever you do, I want to make sure that you commit to being the best father you can possibly be. So as we wind down, Corey, I want to now give you an opportunity to tell people how can they find out about your book or find out about your book and find out more about you.
Absolutely. You can go to www.golfcigarsandScotch.com. That's www.golfcigarsandScotch.com. You also can go to Amazon and find the book, Golf Cigars and Scotch, Balancing Fatherhood, Friendship, and Fine Living. And real soon, uh, I'll have the Audible version where all audio is sold and listened to on every platform. So that's
Nice,
where you can find it, man.
nice. So now I want to give you an opportunity to share your final comments and thoughts, whatever is on your heart to share.
Well, Michael, I really want to thank you for sharing your platform with me. Um, I love the work that you're doing. Your documentary was phenomenal, highlighting how great black men are, how great black fathers are. Is very pivotal, specifically in 2025, for young people of color to see, especially young men of color to see, that you don't have to be on TV and be an entertainer. You can be an everyday regular Joe, even though we both were no, we're not regular Joes, but we are here. We are your community. You can lean on us. We're here for guidance. We're here for mentorship. That's what most black men that I know do. They're great fathers, they're great mentors, they're great leaders, they're great family men, and they're just great people and very productive in society. And so I'll continue to strive to be the best that I can be, to lift others up as I climb, and continue to want to collaborate with folks like yourself. And I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Well, it has been my absolute joy having you on the show because once again, I love the opportunity just to converse with brothers because I know for a lot of my in my younger years, I remember feeling isolated and alone because of how I thought. My thinking process was a little different. I've always been an optimist. Um,
Mm,
I've always seen the positive aspects of everything, and in some cases that alienated me because some people didn't think I was acknowledging all the challenges in society and so forth, and racial and whatever. But
mhm.
I've just always believed that first and foremost, I'm responsible for my happiness. I've always believed that. No one
Yes.
else is responsible for my happiness.
Right.
But what I love about this platform is having an opportunity just to chat with brothers who are I use the term doing remarkable things, but you're just being great human beings. I mean, it's just and being a
Right.
great father, you don't have to have a degree or a title.
Right.
No, but it just warms my heart just to do this podcast and speak to people like yourself that again are shattering the stereotypes. And so that's the whole point of this movement is to shatter the stereotypes and let us see us. Once again, I love what Tyler Perry said when he said, "Stop fighting for room at the table, build your own table." Well, there's so much negativity out there, and I didn't want to try to fight for space. I said, let me create my own table. And that's what Shatter the Stereotypes is. It's my own table to showcase and highlight brothers who are shattering stereotypes. So again, Corey, I just want to say thank you, bro, for what you're doing. Good luck with all the things that you're doing. And I don't believe in accidents. I believe everything happens for a reason, and I think our paths cross for a reason, and I'm certain that they'll cross again. So again, I just want to say thank you for joining us for an hour here on Shatter the Stereotypes.
Absolutely. Much appreciated, Michael. Thank
All right.
you.
All right, bro. So again, this has been another episode of Shatter the Stereotypes. And that is the message, guys. Shatter the stereotypes. Remember what Public Enemy said? Don't believe the hype. Black men are actually thriving. Black men are killing it right now. You just may not see it in mainstream media. So it is our responsibility to see it, to put out the content so that we can see it. So with that being said, we'll see you next episode. Take care.